guys, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for tuning in. Today's video is about one of my favorite things in the entire world. Yes, that's right. It's about Ozzy, my dog. His full name is actually Oscar de la Renta. That's what it says on his name tag, but that name is a little too long and maybe a little ridiculous. And so he goes by Ozzy, but as many of you guys know, I'm in a very busy graduate program and I have this dog. And so if you follow me on Instagram, you know that he is a big part of my life. He makes it onto my story or my feed almost daily. So one of the most common questions I get is how I managed to have a dog in a busy graduate program, which is a very valid question. And I am here to tell you a little bit about my experience. As a disclaimer, you guys, everybody's situation is a little bit different, so I'm going to give you my perspective of the pros and the cons. And honestly, I'm a huge animal lover. I grew up with animals since I was a little girl, so I'm a little bit biased, and I think the pros definitely outweigh the cons, which is why I have a dog. And that's probably a good thing. If you are thinking about adopting, make sure that you look at your own situation, your own circumstance, because it's a huge responsibility that does not go away if you're tired or hungry or bored or whatever. And so you have to make sure that you make a very responsible decision when you decide to adopt an animal. And once you make that amazing decision, please, 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 please adopt. Do not buy, you guys. There's a ton of incredible animals, cats, dogs, lots of different animals that need really good homes that are in shelters waiting for a forever home. So please, please, please adopt and rescue. Do not buy. Okay, so let's get back to my real topic. Ozzy. Okay, obsessed with that little fluffy monster, but there are pros and there are cons. I'm going to start with the cons because I want to end on a high note so that maybe it'll convince you to get an animal while you're in grad school. As you know, I'm in a really, really busy program. I'm an oral maxillofacial surgery resident, and so I'm a resident, I'm a medical student, I finished dental school. I know it's all very confusing and sounds crazy, so if you want to know a little bit more about my program, I talk about it in detail in another YouTube video, so make sure you check that out. But long story short, I'm very, very busy. I'm still able to manage my dog because I've, taken a lot of different steps to make sure that he is taken care of most of the day. However, this brings me to my very first con: time. Animals need a lot of time. It doesn't matter if you have a final tomorrow. It doesn't matter if you've gotten 3 hours of sleep and you're desperate to get, to bed. They still need to be walked. They still need to eat. They are animals that have needs. And so you can't drop those needs if you're really, really busy. So if your program that you're in is super inflexible and you're really, really busy and have no idea how you can take out at least an hour to 2 hours a day fully dedicated to your dog, then you might have to rethink getting a dog. An alternative would be getting a cat. They don't really need to go on walks. And so that can give you a little bit more independence and flexibility because they're a lot more independent as animals than dogs are. Dogs are really, really needy. And for the record, I love dogs and cats equally. So you cannot ask me that question because I grew up with a really amazing cat who is at home right now. He is 18 years old and fabulous. And of course, I have Ozzy, who I love very, very dearly. So we have dogs and we have cats, and I love both, and I will not choose. So do not ask me. But anyways, that is the first con, is they need time. So you have to be able to dedicate time for them. Even when I'm really busy, I wake up an extra 45 minutes early, and that might not sound like a big deal, but it is a big deal when you're getting like 3 hours of sleep. I wake up 45 minutes early to make sure that Ozzy at least gets one long walk a day, and then I come back, I'm super tired, and I still take him out on another walk, and sometimes I take him out a third time, and then over the weekend, I have so much guilt about not walking him enough, even though it sounds like maybe he gets enough walking, that I take him on very, very, very long walks on the weekends or when I have time off. So they do require time. I make the time for it, and I'm able to make it work. But that is something that you have to consider, and that's probably the biggest con. Another con is they take money. So if your finances are really, really tight, just keep in mind that they are costly. Adoption fees, are one-time thing, but then after that, they need to go to the vet. They need to get their vaccines. They need to get blood work. They need to get tested. Ozzy's actually a senior dog. I adopted him from a Manhattan shelter when he was 7 years old, and so he has costed me anywhere between $500 to $1,000 a year, depending on what kind of vaccines he needs, blood work, all of that stuff. So they can be costly. So do keep that in mind when you're choosing to adopt a pet. The last con that I will say is not really, a major con. It really depends on the dog that you have. Ozzy's a rescue and he was abused. I know, sad face. But he takes a lot of very particular behavior modification. So he is not the easiest dog to deal with. So honestly, it's taking me a lot of time and effort to get him, a little bit trained so that he's not as skittish and scared. And so that is something that you have to consider when you're adopting a dog. You don't know what their personality is like, and so they might not like children. And if you have children, that's a big problem. They might not like other people. They might not like other dogs. They might not like cats. They might not like. So you have to just be flexible and know that what you're getting into, and kind of like be able to manage that. So that's another thing that you have to think about when you're adopting an animal. And that's pretty much it. I know it's not a lot of cons. Like I said, I'm a little bit biased, and those are the only things that I can really think of that might be a disadvantage to adopting an animal. Now, let's move on to the advantages, which I think totally outweigh the disadvantages. And that is, first and foremost, the companionship of an animal is honestly unparalleled. Like, I love my family, you guys, but sometimes I don't like them very much. Like, I can get into a fight with my sister, and if she is having a really bad day and she's moody and whatever, doesn't really want to see me or talk to me, well, I get a little bit upset. It's never like that with Ozzy, ever, ever, ever. He doesn't care if, he had a bad day or a great day. He loves me so much. He doesn't care if I'm having a bad day. He doesn't care if I look great, if I look horrible, if I'm crying, if I'm happy. He is so excited to see me the minute I walk into the door. There is honestly no love like an animal's love. They love you unconditionally, regardless of how you look, what you smell like, who you are, what your religion you practice, what your background is. They don't care. They are the most loving creatures on earth. And even if you're not an animal lover, get an animal for 1 month and I guarantee you'll become an animal lover, because you just can't help it. You can't help it. They are so loving and giving that your heart just melts when they come and jump up on you and give you all that love. And so that is the biggest advantage of having an animal, is the companionship that they give you. I adopted Ozzy on July 23rd and I started my residency program on July 1st. So it took about 3 weeks for me to realize that I really needed an animal in my life. Throughout dental school, things were really crazy and hectic and busy, and I was traveling a lot, and the building that I was living in did not allow animals, so I ended up not adopting an animal for 4 years in dental school when I was in Manhattan, and honestly, I hated it. I hated it. I hated it. I love coming home to an animal, and so when I came to Boston, I was living by myself. It was a little bit lonely. I was starting this new program, and walking into an empty house was like no bueno for me. So, it took me 3 weeks, and I walked into a Manhattan shelter, saw Ozzy, fell in love, even though he was a senior dog. And honestly, he was in the shelter for about 4 weeks because no one wanted to adopt a senior dog, even though he's literally the best dog ever. My heart melted. I fell for him and I adopted him, and, there was no going back after that day. So, he fills that void in my life. If I'm having a really bad day, we kind of develop this routine. I take him on a walk, I put my headphones in, and we walk all over Boston, and I get to explore the city on foot, and he's there with me, during the hard days and the easy days and the great days, and it's been really, really amazing. And so that is the biggest advantage to having an animal, is the companionship and the fact that, you can really depend on them if you are feeling, kind of lonely. So that's one of the advantages. The other advantage to having a dog is, especially if you live alone, honestly, it's an added security measure. I live all alone, and sometimes I walk and I end up in neighborhoods that maybe I shouldn't be in. So having Ozzy around makes me feel much safer, and that is honestly a huge advantage. I know he's 20 pounds, yay, and maybe he's not, a big strong dog, but he has a big bark on him, and so he will scare people away if they are trying to approach me and I don't like them. He will sense that, and he will scare them away. So that's another advantage of having a dog. Another advantage of having an animal, you guys, is an advantage that I never really thought about, but honestly, animals can provide a lot of emotional support. I know that this is something that has come up a lot on the news because different people are using it for different things, but the bottom line is dogs can really provide a lot of emotional support if you have a mental illness, if you have a physical illness, if you have any other illness. therapy dogs could be really, really amazing. And so if you're looking for something that could really add value to your life and maybe provide you some therapy, consider getting a therapy animal, because they're proven to actually really help you navigate through a specific disease process or condition. And so honestly, that is a huge advantage that I learned about in the hospital. There are therapy dogs that walk around the hospital and honestly provide so much relief and happiness to a lot of the patients. And so it's an incredible thing that you could do. And if your dog is a dog that is trainable and well behaved, then they can become a therapy dog and you can actually take them to the hospital to make people's days. And so that's a long, complicated process, and Ozzy definitely does not qualify because he doesn't like people that much. He just loves me. But anyways, that is something that you could do, so that's really, really amazing. And the last advantage is you're saving an animal, you guys. Ozzy was in the shelter, he was alone, and I know how much he loves being with me at home, so I can't even fathom the fact that he was in a shelter. So you just saved an animal and you rescued them and you gave them a forever home, and that's an amazing feeling. And so that is definitely an advantage. And before the video is over, honestly, those are everything that I wanted to say. But before it's over, of course, the guest of honor is going to make an appearance. He's sitting right next to me on the bed because he cannot be far away from me. So he's always going to make an appearance. And you sit right next to your mom, don't you? All the time, huh? I know, he is the cutest. Can you believe he's a shelter dog? See, you can find really, really cute dogs in the shelter. I'll tell you a little bit about Ozzy before this video gets too long. He is a Maltese Shih Tzu mix. He was 7 years old when I adopted him. I don't know his birthday. So the day I adopted him was July 23rd, and that's his birthday. So his birthday's in a couple of days. Huh, baby boy? Are you gonna have cake for your birthday? Yeah, huh. So he's a Maltese Shih Tzu, so he's hypoallergenic. So if you have allergies, you can get a hypoallergenic dog. That's not an excuse. You can still rescue an animal. And he is a really great dog. He's a little bit skittish, but he, is really wonderful to me, and he loves my family, and that's really all I need. He also has a class 3, which I think is adorable because I'm a dentist. So that means his teeth stick out and he has a little bit of a underbite, and I think that's just the cutest thing in the world. So he has like a little snaggle tooth that you can see right there. Say hi to everyone. Okay, well, that's it. That's all I have to say. If you have any questions, you guys, make sure that you leave me a comment below, like this video, subscribe to my channel, you know the drill, and follow me on Instagram so you can see this cutie patootie make it throughout my story. And if you have any questions, please do let me know, and please go help save a dog and rescue them because they are amazing. Ozzy, say bye to everyone.